I think it's fair to say that one of the sort of bugbears that goes around amongst West Ham fans is the training ground and the current state of it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, for being a West Ham fan, I do find it a little bit embarrassing when we look at our training ground. I know that they've always tried to suggest that actually it's not as bad as it first looks, but at the end of the day, I've never really seen anything from our training ground that looks overly impressive. It actually looks pretty cheap, and it's always been one of those things you can hit the owners with, in terms of cost cutting and not, being ambitious, and to be honest with you, I never really realised the importance of it until those Amazon documentaries came out regarding those football clubs. They looked at Tottenham, didn't they? Arsenal, etc. And you just look at their training facilities. Obviously, they've got sort of like behind the closed doors, these cameras, access to all areas, kind of things, and it's just so impressive. I remember looking at Tottenham's, and it's almost like a football stadium in itself. It's just remarkably classy. You can see they've really spent some money on it, and you can see the importance of it.
We'll get back to the video in just a second, but I just wanted to let you know this video is actually sponsored by Circle, and specifically their game 5 Match Millions. I'm going to be honest with you, okay, that we're very picky about who we work with on the channel. For the West Ham Way, we are. And when they approached us to sponsor the channel, we said, well, okay, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll basically use your app for a couple of weeks just to make sure that we're happy with it. I've got to say, it's really good and very addictive, I'll warn you. Basically, the way it works is they pick 5 games for the weekend, Premier League football games, okay? And each game, you pick a number. You can do it either randomly, or you do a lucky dip, or you pick the numbers that you want. And the way it works is that it's numbers from 1 to 27, and basically the dial will spin depending on what happens in the game. So if there's a throw-in, it moves 2 places to the left. If there's a yellow card, it goes 4 to the right. And basically, wherever it ends at the end of the game, it'll land on a number. And if you get that number, then you win. So basically, you can win up to £1 million if you get all 5, okay? And the first, so if you match 1, you get your money back plus a couple of quid extra, blah, 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 blah. And basically, I think even if you match 3 numbers, you get 75 quid. So it's very, very good. And basically all it is £2 a week to play. Now, if you click on the link below and type in West Ham Way, next weekend's games, you get absolutely free and get to give it a go. So why not just give it a go? Got nothing to lose. I've got to say, it's really, really good. And as I say, I've won already twice. It might be beginner's luck. It might well be beginner's luck, but I'm definitely going to carry on playing. But so click the link below, West Ham Way. Good luck.
Because if you're a football player going to join a football club, yes, you'd obviously look at the stadium, but the training facilities are a big part of this. That's where you're going to be spending the majority of your time. You're not going to be at the stadium most of the time. That's where you're going to be working, Monday to Friday, effectively. So I've always found it a bit strange that West Ham, being a Premier League side in London, huge stadium, etc., making all, we're worth a lot of money. Let's be frank, we're a club that's probably worth close to £1 billion now, and yet we've got a training ground that's basically huts with a few shrubs around it. It is quite embarrassing, I find it. And look, I mean, let's be honest. The most important thing is what we do on the pitch. That's the most important part. I'm not going to sit here and say that we should sacrifice investing in the team and spend hundreds of millions of pounds on a training facility. I wouldn't want that to sacrifice our progression on the pitch. But let's be frank that we should be looking at improving our training ground. Now, it appears, though, the club are finally doing something about it. I mean, they've kept it pretty quiet. It's not sort of something that they're banding around. But the news that's coming out recently is that the club are now in the market to look at leasing a new piece of land. So we put up an article about this regarding a bit more information that came out. This is coming from XWH employee on Patreon, and also it came from another article we got from the BBC. So I just want to sort of run through that quickly before sort of talk about it in a little bit more detail. So what they've said is that West Ham are putting a serious bid. This is what the BBC is suggesting. The BBC are putting a serious bid from the club to acquire Oakfield Playing Fields in Fairlop. It's understood the bid could be seen as set to be approved by Redbridge Council's cabinet. How true that is exactly in terms of being approved, but you would imagine if they're looking to get a new leaseholder for the land, and if West Ham come calling, you'd expect that we'd have a decent chance, and this is what apparently our bid offers in terms of what you could offer to the area, etc., etc. So it seems quite serious, but there are two sides to this, and one of them is, which is quite a serious one, is regarding the effect on grassroots football. So this is where there's going to be a fair bit of challenge from this, and I can understand that. And there's a fair bit of challenge from West Ham fans as well. I'm not overly happy about the way we're going about this. Although I would say that we don't know a lot about the details of the bid, do we? We don't know necessarily where we're saying we're going to kick out another football club, but this is what we understand so far. So I think it's Bolognians FC. That's who are situated there. That's where they train, and that's where their home ground is. Now they're a grassroots football club they've been around for quite some time. I think they've been there since early 2003. I think they've been at that ground. So they've been there a little while now, 20 years. So you can understand that it's causing a fair bit of stress and disappointment amongst those people there, and also amongst fans. I totally get it, because, you know, grassroots football is so important. But I think one thing we've got to bear in mind is, one, we don't understand the full extent of the bid. It could be that West Ham might say, well, look, we want this land. However, we will help you relocate or something like that. Who knows? And also what XWHU employee has suggested regarding this is that the offer is not just for this land. We've also we've done this before. It's just that this is the one that's been reported. But we have done this elsewhere. And also West Ham have applied for planning permission to carry out works at Rush Green. So I would suggest, from the evidence that we've got at the moment, is that the club are sort of putting their feelers about and seeing what's going to be the best outcome for the club. So it's not as if we're saying that is exactly what we are doing. We're definitely going to go down the fair up route and remove Bolognians from their ground. I think that sort of possibly jumped the gun a little bit. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it does seem that it's a little bit far down the line to be saying that's exactly what is going to happen in the end. But what I will say, that aside, and that you know, let's be honest, that is a big thing. I think we've got to be a little bit mindful that if you are going to be taking over in an area, coming in to remove a football club, then I think West Ham, you know, bearing in mind what West Ham's work they do in the community. We only recently got a sort of top award, didn't we, from the Premier League? And Karen Brady was talking about the pride of this. And let's be frank, West Ham do a lot of work in the community. You can see that it's something that's very important to the football club and how we come across and how we're what we're doing to give back. So that's what makes me struggle to believe that West Ham would then go right, we're kicking this football club out and we don't care. I struggle to believe that's what we would do. So I'd like to think that within our bid, or whatever the plans are, let's just say that we are going to get Oakfield. Then I imagine that West Ham will have other plans that they can help Baconians out. But that aside, in terms of West Ham, I mean, this is news we've been looking forward to. It feels like about time West Ham are actually finally going, look, our training facilities are not good enough. If we want to be a proper top club, we've got to start operating like one, and the training ground's a big one. You know, we've all been frustrated with the home stadium, let's be honest, in terms of everything about it, really, in terms of the design's not been great, the way everything's been carried out, you know, the whole sort of scaffold system and all these things. You know, I'm not going to go on about that. You know, we talked about it more than enough times now. But with regards to the training ground, that is something that is well within our control. As I say, I don't want to see the club bankrupt themselves to try and get a training ground in order and get it in place so that we are, you know, we don't want something that's going to be ridiculously over the top, but just something a bit more pride, a bit more Premier League feel to it. Because certainly what we've got at the moment feels more League One. Let's be honest, isn't it? It is really embarrassing. I always find it embarrassing. It's one of those things I just do. Like, even when I think there was clips last week. They were showing clips. Look at the players coming out, and there was just like this wooden fence behind it with a couple of hammers drawn on it, and then there was nothing else. It just looked really. You think, come on, can we get something a bit more high end? You know, a bit more high end. You know, that represents the Premier League side. So, but look, it's an important part, and I'm glad that the club are looking to do something. But the other interesting thing is obviously Rush Green. So XWHU employee is now advised that the club have put in an application to rebuild on Rush Green as well. So let's be honest, that would be the ideal if they could just say, right, we're going to stay here, maybe temporarily move somewhere else while we build our new facility. But I don't know. But it's certainly very, very interesting news. And let's be honest, a little bit of positivity at last in terms of our facilities, because it always has felt like something that we've significantly neglected over the years. And as I say, watching those other documentaries, you look at other clubs and how they're operating. Even Leicester City's is really impressive, you know. And I think it's about time that West Ham caught up with us.